Miter saw dust collection and how to make it suck less. Or wait. I decided I was tired of vacuuming every time I used the miter saw. So I racked my brain, scoured the internet, and ultimately I decided that my best idea was to steal all of Drew's best ideas. I still had several pieces of this 1/4 inch MDF left over. This is the same stuff I used as the toe kicks on the stair remodel project that I finished up last year about this time. It also happens to be the same color as my walls because I used the leftover paint from inside out here to paint these walls. So bonus, matching accessories. We're very fashion forward here at the Whiskered Woodsmith. Basically the idea here is to just build a little box that sits right behind the blade and run dust collection to that. The front face of that the front face of that box just fills the gaps between the built-in fence. If you want to see more details about specific steps on how to make this and the efficiency, then definitely go check out Drew's channel. He goes through a lot more of the step-by-step kind of instructions on how to make it. Obviously it's going to vary for every saw, but ultimately you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this, where this face fits between the fence. One thing to note is where you put these stopper pieces. You want this to sit either flush or even a little bit behind the fence on the saw. So to accomplish that, I use the old double Wrigley's shim method. Just a couple differences between mine and Drew's original one. I ended up having to add this little ramped piece in here. Basically goes from the front all the way down in this corner, and then it's kind of ramped up. When I was originally testing this, I was getting some accumulation all the way in the back corner here, and mostly I think that's because my port here is raised higher up than Drew's original one was, because I used thicker stoppers here, so I couldn't really lower this too much more than it is. So I don't think Drew probably even ran into that issue. And then the only other thing is that I just kind of hard glued this port right into the box rather than making a block here. I don't think that really makes any difference, but that's why mine looks a little bit different. Pretty ugly glue job too. I mean, was I even careful with that, or what was I doing? Next was connecting the dust collector insert box thing to the vacuum. And for that, I just drilled a hole in the bench top, used a hose fitting, one of these stepped ones. I actually just cut the top two of these off so it's inset in the table like this. The vacuum is connected from below. It's a 2-stage system with dust stopper sitting on top of a regular 5-gallon bucket. And all that's run through an IVAC switch so that the saw kicks on the vac whenever it turns on, and then, you know, with a little bit of a delay, it turns itself off. The nice thing about that setup is that I can just hook a regular shop vac hose straight to the port in the top of the bench top, kick over the IVAC switch from the auto setting to just on, and then straight from there use that to clean up, you know, anything left on the saw, plus the other 2 benches, and really reach out to most of this this half of the shop. So there it is. It's way better than the stock setup. It works really well when you're cutting like say 6 to 8 inch boards or under. Leaves almost nothing behind whatsoever. But of course there's room for improvement. Once you start getting a little bit wider boards and you start engaging the slides or the glide in my case, you kind of move the center of that blade out a little bit, and then that causes the angle that the dust shoots up to want to go a little bit up and over that box. So then it doesn't, you know, it's not quite as good as it is when it's a little bit closer to the fence. However, I think reconnecting the built-in port or the little boot that sits right behind the blade, and either tying that into the box or into like a Y fitting straight where it comes out of the table would probably make a big difference. I need to either pick up a Y fitting or figure out some other method to do that. And then in that case, I think there really wouldn't be anything left behind regardless of how wide it is. Of course, as Drew mentioned in his video, this is not a setup for miters or bevels. You really can't do that without totally destroying the fence and cutting it in half almost. So yeah, if you're a trim carpenter and you're doing lots of finish work with lots of miters, lots of bevels, trim work and that kind of stuff, this is probably not the setup for you. But in my shop, straight 90-degree cuts, boards under 8 inches wide, probably covers like 90+% of the cuts that I make in my shop on that saw. So it's a good solution for me. I'll leave a link in the description for Drew's video. That's Drew from Fisher's Shop, if I didn't say that already. If you want more details on specifically how to put this thing together, that's the place to find it. He also goes into some crazy math and figures out like specifically how much better this setup is versus a couple of other common setups with the bag and just hook straight to a shop vac and that kind of stuff. So Drew, thanks for your brain. Thanks for letting me copy your answers like I used to do in history class, math class, band. Thanks for watching. It's always appreciated, and we'll see you on the next one.